Pull up a chair and settle in, because today on AGS Stories, we've got a tale that's sure to stir your emotions. Relationships, especially those within a family, can be some of the most rewarding, but also some of the most challenging connections in our lives. When trust and loyalty are broken, the pain can cut deeper than anything else. Today, we're diving into the story of Amanda, a devoted wife and mother who faced betrayal not just from her husband, but in the moment she needed him most. What do you do when the person you've built your life with walks away, leaving you to pick up the pieces? Amanda's journey of heartbreak, resilience, and hope is one you won't want to miss. Stay tuned, because this story is a powerful reminder of the strength it takes to reclaim your life and the lessons we can all learn about self-worth and courage. Let's get into it. Today, I'm going to share with you a story that's both heartbreaking and eye-opening. This is the story of Amanda, a 34-year-old mother who thought she had the perfect family, a loving husband, a beautiful home, and their sweet 7-year-old daughter, Mia. But one fateful evening, everything Amanda believed in came crashing down, and her world changed forever. It all began on a quiet Tuesday night. Amanda had been feeling unwell for days, but this evening was different. A sharp, searing pain struck her abdomen, bringing her to her knees on the cold kitchen floor. She clutched her side, struggling to breathe as the pain intensified, like a knife twisting deeper and deeper. Her daughter, Mia, stood nearby, her small hands trembling as she clung to the edge of the counter, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mommy, are you okay?" Amanda tried to put on a brave face for Mia. "I'm fine, sweetheart," she said, her voice quivering as the pain forced tears to her eyes. But inside, she knew something was terribly wrong. She needed help, immediately. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. Her husband, Eric, appeared in the doorway, suitcase in hand, dressed sharply for what Amanda initially thought was a business trip. Relief flickered across her face for a moment. "Eric, thank God," she gasped, her voice strained. "I think it's my appendix. I need to go to the hospital." But instead of rushing to her side, Eric froze. His expression shifted, not to concern, but to annoyance. "Appendix? Amanda, you're being dramatic. It's probably just gas or something," he said dismissively, checking his watch. "Eric, please, I'm serious," Amanda begged, the pain causing her to wince. But Eric merely rolled his eyes. "I don't have time for this," he snapped. "I can't miss my flight." That's when Amanda saw it, the text notification on Eric's phone, briefly lighting up the screen. A message from Chloe, someone she didn't recognize, with a heart emoji at the end. And suddenly, Amanda understood. Eric wasn't leaving for work, he was leaving to meet someone else. As Eric walked out the door, suitcase in tow, Amanda was left on the floor, clutching her side, tears streaming down her face. Mia knelt beside her, crying softly, whispering, "Mommy, don't be sick. Please don't leave me." How could a man abandon his family in their time of need? How would Amanda find the strength to rise from this betrayal? And what would Eric face when the truth came to light? As I lay on the cold kitchen floor that night, I felt more than just the physical pain tearing through my body. It wasn't just my abdomen that hurt. It was the crushing weight of betrayal, seeping into every corner of my being. My hands shook as I clutched my side, struggling to breathe through the pain, while my daughter Mia knelt beside me, her wide, tearful eyes filled with fear. "Mommy, please don't be sick," she whimpered, her small voice breaking. I reached for her tiny hand, trying to reassure her, even though I could feel the sharp stabs intensify with every breath. "I'm okay, sweetheart," I lied, forcing a weak smile through gritted teeth. Deep down, I knew this wasn't something that would go away on its own. When Eric walked in, my heart leaped with hope. Surely, he would see how much pain I was in and help me. That's what partners do, right? But the moment I met his gaze, I knew something was wrong. His face wasn't filled with concern or urgency. Instead, it was annoyance. "What's going on, Amanda? Why are you on the floor?" he asked, his tone impatient as he shifted the weight of his suitcase. "Eric, I think it's my appendix," I gasped, tears streaming down my face. "I need to go to the hospital. It's really bad." He scoffed, crossing his arms. "Appendix? You're being dramatic. It's probably just indigestion or something. Call a taxi if it gets worse." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Eric, please, I can't even stand up. I need you," I pleaded, my voice breaking. but he glanced at his watch, his impatience growing. "Amanda, I have a flight to catch. I can't miss it." That's when I saw it. His phone buzzed on the counter, lighting up with a text. My eyes darted to the screen, and there it was. "Can't wait to see you tonight," from someone named Chloe. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. He wasn't leaving for work. He was leaving me and our daughter for someone else. "Eric," I managed to choke out, my voice trembling with pain and disbelief. "Who's Chloe?" His face froze for a split second, but then he recovered, rolling his eyes. "Amanda, I don't have time for your accusations right now. You always overthink everything." With that, he picked up his suitcase and walked out the door, leaving me on the floor with Mia crying beside me. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed through the house, and for a moment, I felt like the world had stopped spinning. I knew I couldn't waste any more time hoping he would come back. I had to act. My hands fumbled for my phone, and I dialed the only person I knew I could trust, my brother, Michael. "Hello?" Michael's familiar voice answered after just one ring. "Michael," I sobbed, barely able to get the words out. "I think it's my appendix. I'm in so much pain, and Eric, I need help." There was a brief silence on the other end, and then Michael's voice became firm and steady. "I'm on my way. Just hold on, Amanda. I'll be there soon." Relief washed over me as I hung up the phone, but the pain didn't relent. Mia knelt beside me, her little hands clutching my arm as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Mommy, is Uncle Michael coming?" I nodded, pulling her close despite the pain. "Yes, sweetheart, he'll be here soon. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay." But was it really? My mind raced as I held my daughter, replaying Eric's words over and over. How could he leave us like this? How could he put someone else above his own family? Michael arrived minutes later, his face a mix of worry and anger as he scooped me up from the floor and carried me to his car. Mia sat in the back seat, clutching her stuffed bunny as silent tears rolled down her cheeks. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed what I had feared. It was appendicitis, and I needed surgery immediately. As they prepped me for the procedure, all I could think about was Mia. How could I explain to her what was happening? How could I shield her from the pain of realizing her father had chosen someone else over us? The surgery was a success, but the emotional wounds Eric had left behind were far from healed. When I woke up, Michael was sitting by my side, his expression grim. "Amanda," he said softly, "we need to talk about Eric." I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. He left, Michael. He left to be with someone else. Michael's jaw tightened. "I'm not going to let him get away with this. You and Mia deserve better." The days following my surgery were a blur of recovery and reflection. My parents came to stay with me, taking care of Mia while I regained my strength. They were devastated when I told them the truth about Eric, but their support never wavered. One night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the weight of everything finally came crashing down on me. I thought about the life I had built with Eric, the promises we had made, the future we had planned. And then I thought about Chloe, the woman who had taken my place in his life. I felt anger, yes, but more than that, I felt grief. Grief for the family I thought I had, for the man I thought Eric was. I had trusted him with my heart, with my life, and he had thrown it all away. But even in the midst of my pain, there was a glimmer of something else, a quiet resolve. I couldn't change what Eric had done, but I could choose how to move forward. I decided to share my story because I needed answers. I needed to know if others had been through something similar, if they had found a way to heal. So I'm asking you, the community, what should I do? Should I confront Eric and Chloe, demand answers, or let it go for the sake of Mia? Should I fight to keep him in Mia's life, or is it better to cut ties completely? I feel lost and broken, but I know I have to find a way to be strong, for Mia, if not for myself. Please, share your thoughts. I need your advice. After Amanda shared her heartbreaking story, the community rallied together to offer support, advice, and solidarity. Among the hundreds of responses, 3 stood out, each offering a unique perspective on Amanda's situation. At Life After Betrayal says, "Amanda, I am so sorry you're going through this. You don't deserve this kind of treatment, and neither does your daughter. From what you've described, Eric has not only betrayed your trust, but he's also shown a complete lack of responsibility as a husband and father. My advice? File for divorce immediately. A man who chooses another woman over his wife and daughter in such a critical moment isn't someone worth keeping in your life. Make sure you set firm boundaries. Don't let him manipulate you into thinking this was somehow your fault. It wasn't. You are strong, and you deserve better. Focus on your daughter and yourself. And remember, you don't have to navigate this alone. Lean on your family and friends. They're your support system now. You've got this. At Family First always says, "This is heartbreaking, Amanda. My heart goes out to you and Mia." It's clear that Eric has made his choice, and while that choice is devastating, it doesn't define your worth. You're more than what he's reduced you to. It's great that you have Michael and your parents there for you. Michael seems like a rock for you right now, and I encourage you to rely on him. Having a strong support network is so important during times like these. I know it might feel overwhelming, but take one step at a time. First, focus on healing and making sure you're in a good place physically and emotionally. Then, think about the long term. If you decide to move forward with a divorce, consider counseling or therapy for both you and Mia. A good therapist can help her process what's happening and help you rebuild your confidence. You're not alone in this. Keep moving forward for Mia. She needs her strong, amazing mom. At Protect Your Future says, "Amanda, your story is a punch to the gut. I'm furious on your behalf. Eric didn't just betray you emotionally, he left you in a literal medical emergency. That's not just neglect, that's dangerous. This man doesn't care about your well-being, and he's shown you who he really is. Here's my practical advice. Start documenting everything. Screenshot the messages you saw between Eric and Chloe. Keep a journal of what's happening, including the times he's failed to show up or support you and Mia. This is going to be crucial if you decide to go through with a divorce and fight for custody. Get legal advice as soon as possible. Even if you're unsure about your next steps, knowing your rights will give you some clarity. Also, protect your finances. Men like Eric tend to lash out when they realize they've lost control, and you need to be prepared for that. Most importantly, remember that this isn't your fault. Eric made his choices, and now it's time for you to make yours. Stay strong. These responses painted a picture of a community deeply empathetic to Amanda's pain and ready to support her in reclaiming her life. Some offered emotional encouragement, while others provided practical advice to ensure Amanda and Mia could move forward safely. Amanda read each comment with a mix of emotions. The support was overwhelming, but it also solidified the reality of her situation. The community's words echoed in her mind. You deserve better. It was a sentiment she wasn't ready to believe fully, but it was a seed of hope she desperately needed. As Amanda reflected on the advice, she began to see a path forward. The pain was still raw, but the voices of strangers, of people who understood, gave her strength. Slowly but surely, she began to feel that perhaps, just perhaps, she could take the steps needed to rebuild her life. For Mia. For herself. For a future free from Eric's betrayal. After reading the outpouring of support and advice from the community, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Gratitude, hope, and an overwhelming sense of clarity. It was as if the blinders had finally been removed, and I could see Eric and my situation for what they truly were. The words, "You deserve better," echoed in my mind as I prepared myself for what I knew I needed to do. I couldn't stay silent any longer. When Eric returned from his so-called business trip, I was ready. I was standing in the living room, arms crossed, my heart pounding in my chest as I heard the sound of his keys jingling at the door. Mia was upstairs with my parents, blissfully unaware of what was about to unfold. Eric walked in, suitcase in hand, his face smug and relaxed as though he had just returned from a vacation. "Hey," he said casually, setting his bag down by the door. "Eric, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. He looked up at me, his brows furrowing. "What's with the tone, Amanda? Can this wait? I'm exhausted." I shook my head, my resolve hardening. "No, it can't wait. I know about Chloe." For a brief moment, his face froze, his expression a mixture of shock and guilt. But then, as quickly as it appeared, it was replaced by something colder, defensiveness. "What are you talking about?" he said, his voice tinged with irritation. "Don't play dumb, Eric," I snapped, holding up my phone where I had saved the screenshots of the messages I'd seen. "I saw the texts. You weren't on a business trip. You were with her. Eric let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Seriously, Amanda? You went through my phone? That's what this is about? This is why we have problems. You're always snooping, always assuming the worst. I could feel my blood boiling as his words sank in. Are you kidding me? This is why we have problems? Eric, I was lying on the floor in excruciating pain, unable to move, while you walked out the door to go see your mistress. You left me and Mia when we needed you the most. How can you even try to justify that? He rolled his eyes, crossing his arms as though he were the one being wronged. You're so dramatic, Amanda. You always blow things out of proportion. You know what? Maybe if you weren't so uptight all the time, I wouldn't have felt the need to find comfort somewhere else. His words hit me like a slap across the face. I stood there, stunned, as he continued to twist the blame back onto me. Comfort somewhere else? I repeated, my voice trembling with disbelief. You cheated on me, Eric. You abandoned your family, and now you're standing here trying to make this my fault? Well, maybe if you'd been more supportive, he started, but I cut him off, my voice rising in anger. Don't you dare put this on me. I've been the one holding this family together while you've been sneaking around behind my back. I've been the one taking care of Mia, of this house, of everything, while you were too busy playing the perfect boyfriend to someone else. Eric's face twisted into a sneer. You're impossible to talk to when you're like this, he muttered, grabbing his suitcase and heading toward the stairs. I followed him, my hands shaking with fury. Don't you dare walk away from me, Eric. You don't get to just brush this off like it's nothing. What about Mia? What about our family? Doesn't any of that mean anything to you? He stopped midway up the stairs, turning to face me with a look of disdain. Of course Mia means something to me. But you? You're the one making this harder than it needs to be. Maybe you should think about what's best for her before you go tearing this family apart. Tearing this family apart. The irony of those words was almost laughable. As he disappeared into the bedroom, slamming the door behind him, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. How had we gotten here? How had the man I once loved become this stranger standing in my home, blaming me for his own selfish actions? That night, as I sat alone in the living room, I couldn't stop thinking about Mia. She was my entire world, and the thought of her being caught in the middle of this mess broke my heart. I knew that leaving Eric was the right thing to do. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. But the question that haunted me was, how would this affect her? Would she blame me for breaking up her family? Would she grow up feeling incomplete, missing the father who had chosen someone else over us? Or would she understand one day that I did this for her, that I couldn't let her grow up thinking it was okay to stay in a toxic relationship? The uncertainty was suffocating, and I found myself turning back to the community for guidance. I posted an update, sharing what had happened when Eric came home and how he had tried to twist everything back on me. I admitted my fears about what this would mean for Mia and asked for advice on how to navigate the next steps. Should I wait until I have everything in place before telling him I'm filing for divorce? I wrote. How do I protect Mia from the fallout of this? And how do I make her understand that none of this is her fault? As I hit post, I felt a small sense of relief. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew I wasn't alone. The community had already shown me that there were people out there who cared, who understood, and who would help me find the strength to do what needed to be done. For the first time in days, I allowed myself to hope that maybe, just maybe, Mia and I could find our way to something better. Something free from Eric's betrayal and filled with the kind of love and support we truly deserved. As Amanda's story continued to unfold, her courage inspired an even stronger response from the community. Readers empathized with her pain and admired her determination to take control of her life, offering both emotional support and practical advice. As the storyteller, I couldn't help but feel both heartbroken and inspired by Amanda's resilience. Her situation is a stark reminder of how betrayal can cut deeper than any physical wound, but also how strength and support can light the path forward. What struck me most about Amanda's story is her unwavering love for Mia. She's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting to give her daughter a life free from toxicity and deceit. Here's what two members of the community had to say. At Hope Rising 3, Amanda, your story brought tears to my eyes. I can't even imagine the pain you've endured, but I want you to know that you're making the right decision by standing up for yourself and Mia. Staying in a toxic marriage will only teach your daughter that it's okay to settle for less than she deserves. You've already shown so much strength by confronting Eric and exposing the truth. Now, focus on what comes next. Protect yourself and Mia. Make sure you document everything. Every lie, every instance of neglect, every way he has failed you as a partner and a father. This will be critical when you go through the legal process. Most importantly, don't let his words break you. Eric's attempts to blame you for his actions are nothing but a reflection of his guilt and insecurity. You're doing what's best for your daughter, and that makes you a phenomenal mother. Stay strong. You've got this. At Justice for Moms, Amanda, your story reminds me so much of my own experience, and I want you to know that there is life after betrayal. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I know you're worried about Mia, but believe me, children are more resilient than we think. What matters most is that she grows up in a loving, stable environment, and Eric has shown he's incapable of providing that. Right now, your priorities should be building a solid plan. Get a good lawyer who will fight for your rights and make sure you secure full custody of Mia. The courts will take into account Eric's actions, especially his abandonment during your medical emergency. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Your brother Michael and your parents seem like amazing allies. Lean on them. And remember, self-care is just as important. Don't lose sight of your own well-being in all of this. You deserve happiness, Amanda, and so does Mia. Keep fighting. You're stronger than you know. These heartfelt responses highlighted what Amanda needed most, a reminder that she wasn't alone. The community rallied around her, offering not only advice but also validation for her pain and her decisions. Amanda read each comment carefully, feeling a mix of gratitude and determination. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but knowing she had this kind of support behind her made it seem just a little less daunting. It was clear now. She wasn't just fighting for survival, she was fighting for a better life, for herself and for Mia. It's been 6 months since I shared my story and opened up to this incredible community. I can't begin to express how much your advice, encouragement, and support have meant to me. Your words were the lifeline I desperately needed to navigate through the storm that was my life. Now, I'm ready to share how everything unfolded and where Mia and I stand today. The day after I posted my last update, I called a lawyer. It was one of the hardest calls I've ever made, but it also marked the beginning of my fight for a better future. My brother Michael came with me to the initial consultation, sitting by my side as I laid everything out. The texts, Eric's abandonment during my medical emergency, and his complete lack of accountability. The lawyer, a sharp but compassionate woman named Claire, didn't sugarcoat things. "This won't be easy," she said, "but you have a strong case, Amanda, and most importantly, you have the truth on your side." With Claire's guidance, I filed for divorce and began the process of seeking full custody of Mia. The paperwork felt endless, and every step of the way, Eric fought back. At first, he tried to dismiss the entire situation, acting as though I was blowing things out of proportion. But as soon as he realized I was serious about the divorce and about keeping Mia, his demeanor shifted. Eric became hostile, throwing every insult and accusation he could think of to tear me down. He claimed I was unfit to be a mother, saying that my overreactions would harm Mia in the long run. He even tried to paint himself as the victim, accusing me of turning our families against him. But none of it worked. Michael and my parents stood by me every step of the way. They helped me gather evidence, from the screenshots of Eric's texts with Chloe to the details of the night he left me on the kitchen floor. Michael even testified on my behalf, recounting the frantic phone call I made to him that night and how he had to rush me to the hospital because Eric was nowhere to be found. The courtroom was the most intimidating place I've ever been. Sitting across from Eric, listening to him twist the truth and try to portray himself as a devoted father was almost unbearable. But I stayed strong. I had to. For Mia. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, I felt an overwhelming mix of relief and gratitude. Full custody of Mia was awarded to me, with Eric granted limited visitation rights. The judge specifically cited his abandonment during my medical emergency and his subsequent behavior as evidence of his inability to prioritize Mia's well-being. Eric's reaction was predictable. He stormed out of the courtroom, muttering under his breath about how I had ruined his life. But as I sat there, holding Michael's hand and feeling my parents' reassuring presence behind me, I knew the truth. Eric had ruined his own life. As the months went on, the consequences of Eric's actions began to catch up with him. Word of his affair with Chloe spread through our community, and the once proud image he had built for himself quickly crumbled. His family, who had initially been hesitant to take sides, distanced themselves from him after hearing the full story. Even his friends began to turn away, disgusted by his betrayal and irresponsibility. Chloe didn't fare much better. The glamorous facade she had built as Eric's new beginning started to crack under the weight of reality. People who had once admired her turned their backs, seeing her for what she truly was, a homewrecker who had helped destroy a family. Meanwhile, Mia and I started to rebuild our lives. I found a job at a local accounting firm, a small but welcoming place run by a woman who believed in supporting single mothers. The hours were flexible, the environment was supportive, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was standing on my own 2 feet. Mia adapted to our new reality with the resilience only a child could possess. She started kindergarten, made new friends, and filled our home with her laughter and stories about her day. There were tough moments, of course, times when she asked why Daddy wasn't around as much or why he didn't live with us anymore. I did my best to answer her questions honestly, but gently, always reassuring her that she was loved and that none of this was her fault. One evening, as we sat together on the couch reading her favorite bedtime story, Mia looked up at me and said, "Mommy, I'm glad it's just us. It feels safe." Her words brought tears to my eyes. In that moment, I knew I had made the right decision. As for Eric, he occasionally showed up for his scheduled visits, but it was clear that his life wasn't the dream he had envisioned. The last I heard, he and Chloe had broken up, and he was living with a friend, trying to piece his life back together. Looking back, I feel a sense of pride I never thought I'd have again. I'm proud of the choices I made, proud of the strength I found within myself, and proud of the life Mia and I are building together. To everyone who supported me through this journey, thank you. Your words gave me courage when I needed it most. For anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, know this: you are stronger than you think. You deserve love, respect, and a life free from betrayal. Mia and I are starting a new chapter now, one filled with hope and possibility. And as I close the door on the past, I can finally say with confidence, we're going to be okay. Amanda's journey is one of heartbreak, resilience, and ultimately, triumph. Her story reminds us that letting go of a toxic relationship is never easy, especially when it involves betrayal, abandonment, and the uncertainty of starting over. But sometimes, taking that step away from pain is the only path to finding peace and creating a brighter future. The first and most profound lesson we can take from Amanda's experience is this: your worth is not defined by someone else's treatment of you. Eric's betrayal could have easily crushed Amanda's spirit, but instead, she chose to fight for herself and for Mia. She refused to accept less than she deserved and took control of her life, even when the road ahead seemed impossible. Another key takeaway is the power of having a strong support system. Amanda leaned on her brother Michael, her parents, and even this online community when she needed strength and encouragement. Their support gave her the courage to confront Eric, protect her daughter, and rebuild her life from the ground up. This is a reminder to all of us: never underestimate the value of reaching out for help. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, and don't be afraid to lean on them during difficult times. Amanda's story also emphasizes the importance of protecting yourself and your loved ones, both emotionally and legally. By documenting Eric's actions, seeking legal counsel, and taking a stand in court, she ensured that Mia would grow up in a safe, loving environment. If you're facing a similar situation, remember to prepare yourself with facts and evidence, and don't hesitate to seek professional advice. One of the most touching moments in Amanda's story was when Mia told her, "Mommy, I'm glad it's just us. It feels safe." Those words highlight an important truth. Staying in a toxic relationship for the sake of a child often does more harm than good. Children thrive in environments where they feel loved and secure, and Amanda's decision to leave Eric was ultimately a decision to give Mia the stability she needed. Finally, Amanda's journey teaches us that there is life and happiness after heartbreak. It may take time and it may not be easy, but healing is possible. Amanda's new job, Mia's joy at school, and the peace they've found together are proof that brighter days are ahead, even after the darkest moments. To everyone watching, Amanda's story is more than just a tale of betrayal and recovery. It's a testament to the power of self-respect, resilience, and hope. If you've ever been in a situation where you had to choose between staying in pain or fighting for your peace, what did you do? Or, if you're currently facing a similar struggle, what lessons from Amanda's story resonate with you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your experiences and advice in the comments below. And if this story has inspired or moved you, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. We're all in this together, and your support helps stories like Amanda's reach those who need them most. Lastly, if you want to hear more stories of resilience, self-discovery, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to AGS Stories and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of this incredible community. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and always remember, you deserve happiness.